week 7 on this game date in the spring split that Roccat started their resurgence. They went 2-1 versus Origin, 2-0 over Vitality. They beat Fnatic 2-1. They beat the Giants 2-0, 2-0 over Misfits, and 2-1 over G2. Now they beat the Unicorns of Love.
Is this the start of a winning spree? We'll have to wait and see. But Roccat today will take the 2-1.
How much is this the start of another resurgence for Roccat based off what we've seen over this series?
Exile trying to get his way away, uses the barrier early on, but he's pushed back, and that's first blood to Roccat. Exile flashes early, Pridestalker there. There's the stun though. Wall jump, grapple. Pridestalker says, oh no, you don't. Samix takes a chunk. Chachi there as well. He jumps onto Hyun, and there's the unleashed power. He's sang low. Pridestalker's got a kill. And perhaps this is Unicorns losing a fight in the mid lane. I can't believe my eyes. I don't want to hype them up too much yet, Stress. But is this the Roccat revival that we all wanted to see?
I do not think it.
Enemy team have no macro, but they're gonna play to force. Like, we wanna fully commit to the 1-2-1. We wanna only play for picks. Like, just use Ash arrows, use Shen ultis, use our Tom ultis.
That is the next port of call.
It's going to land onto Vander as Steelback and Featherstorm to dodge away, and the Flay's not going to be there either. With Shook picking up kill number 1. Joko, Ragnar rocking, but it's Steelback that's caught by his Prophet, and he gets a kill himself. Now Nuke Duck going to pull in too with the Shockwave, but it does not do nearly enough damage. NIP chasing Vitality through the jungle, and these guys are looking real dead right now.
Welcome to Berlin for a Saturday filled with action in the EU LCS. Roccat are still in the fight for playoffs after a great series against Unicorns of Love, and today they're going to look to take another victory as they face off against Ninjas and Pyjamas. You see Betsy, you see Roccat on your screen there, ready to go. Got some makeup going on as well, and there's Prophet. Peace? I don't think so, man. Today it's going to be all about war. It's going to be all about conflict, maybe even in that top lane. Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel Drakos, joined by Andrew Vedius Day, James Tress O'Leary. How are you guys doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you, my friend. How are you?
Good. Great.
Better now that he's not poking you in the face.
Much better.
Look, are you focused? Are you ready for broadcast?
I'm super vigilant. I
there you go. See, then I feel like it was worth it.
Definitely worth it.
Now it's a morning ritual before we start the broadcast. Well, yesterday, Misfits Gaming, they woke up the monster as Caps dominated on the Rift with the Shadow Reaper Kayn.
And it was a really exciting game. We perhaps weren't expecting to see the Kayn in the middle lane, apart from one man to my right that was on Twitter, picks to watch, talking about the strength of Kayn. Very exciting game out of Fnatic.
I was always a believer. I always had this feeling that he would become this mid lane assassin. I didn't realize that it would be Caps to bring out the god himself and demonstrate the potential of Zed's biggest fanboy.
Yeah, I figure if you take enough shots, eventually you'll hit a target.
Exactly.
But good job, Vedius. Good job. You can see some fantastic numbers for Caps coming in there. Definitely. Is this something we're going to see more of as the week progresses? Is mid lane Kayn now a thing in the meta?
It's very difficult to say because he's in a very similar position to Zed. He wants to be roaming around the map a lot during the early game. He relies a lot on getting that early snowball. And I think that right now, the only team that can make that early snowball happen properly is Fnatic. So if we're going to see it more, it will be more from Caps himself.
Yeah, interesting to find out. Well, H2K also picked up a win over Splice, and that means that they're putting pressure on both Splice and the Unicorns of Love here in Group B. Something to look at as we move forward.
And you look at H2K, a very important win to secure the top spot in Group B currently. Of course, 7-3. They were a whole bunch of teams tied at 6-3. Unicorns will have the opportunity to maybe even the score up as they play on later today. But those Group B standings, I feel, have a couple of twists and turns left in the last few weeks of the split.
And this is a big deal for H2K as well because they were in that quarterfinal last split. They ended up getting knocked out by Fnatic. So being able to get that bye and have a little bit more security, I'm sure is something they'd love to get.
Definitely a major factor. Well, we can see if Unicorns of Love are going to catch up today. As Stress mentioned earlier in our second series, it is going to be Unicorns of Love versus the Mysterious Monkeys. So interesting schedule to have. I feel like second matchup, definitely Unicorns of Love favorite, but the first matchup, much closer. However, with 2 series left in the week, we want to know what you want to highlight. You guys can head on over to Twitter and hit us up with your big plays at LOL Esports using the hashtag EULCS. Vedius, I can guess what you might go for, but tell. Okay,
it's
yeah,
Kayn plays.
All right,
why would you be surprised? It's Kayn plays.
Not surprised at all.
For
me, Not quite the Kane. I actually was seeing the clips from H2K. The Febivan Jace performance was pretty good as well. I think there was a few important shock blasts that were connecting. I thought he'd had a great job.
All right. Kane, shock blast. Well, let us know what you think. Once again, Twitter at LL Esports is the place. But now we are going to focus in on our first series. And Roccat, their team, amazing win streak when we look at spring. You know, almost led them to playoffs, weren't quite able to get there. This time around, it feels like they are a little bit closer. Only 2 series behind Misfits Gaming, and they are up against what I think we can say is maybe not the easiest opponent, but definitely one of the easier in the league in NIP.
Yeah, NIP, they haven't had the best of performances. They kind of got dismantled by G2 in their game or the series earlier this week, and it's a little bit unfortunate because you want to be seeing more from them, right? Now that they're locked in the promotion tournament, there's very little that they can do moving forward. The best they can do is try and demonstrate that they're still a team worthy of contention, that they can still hold that spot in the LCS, but things are definitely not looking too good for them right now.
Right, the difficulty for NIP is there's no consistency. They have glimmers of hope like the Baron play against G2 that you say, hey, this NIP might be able to contend, but as Vedius alluded to, it's just the fact they've got to build towards the promotion tournament now because they are locked in that bottom spot of the group.
And we look at the opposite side, Roccat, they've been a team that's struggled and surprised, and they've kind of been all over the place. Vedius, when you look at this team, is this a team that you think has improved over the course of the split? What has been the change for Roccat from week to week?
I definitely think that they have gotten better. We've seen a big shift from them because very early on in the split, they were more of a late game team. They had to play this passive, slow early game and then transition into more team fighting, moving around the map later on. But now they seem to be so much more early game focused, and it's because of that man on your screen. Pridestalker seems to be so much more comfortable in the jungle. He seems to be so much more proactive, and it's great to see that from him as an individual, he seems to be stepping up a lot more for the side of Roccat.
A lot more than perhaps we expected as well, because coming into this through Challenger, we said, hey, Pridestalker, very inexperienced jungler. He's learned over the course of the split and now goes up against HeaQ, one of the most experienced European junglers that remains, who we always have said likes the early game presence. The Lee Sins, the Elise, that has worked out for NIP, but they just haven't converted that into game wins.
The big problem, though, for Roccat is their inconsistencies as well, because while we have seen growth and development, you still never know who's going to show up on the day. Pridestalker, Phaxi, and Betsy are the 3 that I always look at and wonder, will they have that amazing day of games, or are they just going to flop at the first hurdle and result in an awful loss for Roccat?
Definitely the case. Well, we are going to have to find out. Ladies and gentlemen, we're done here. That means get out your cap of prides, get ready to question your sexuality, whatever it is, because we're sending it over to the caster desk. It's time for that Quick D duo.
I'm not questioning anything because I'm Trevor Quickshot Henry, joined by the man, the majestic, the miracle that is Martin Deficio Linger. Thank you, Berlin. This man deserves a round of applause.
Thank you. They already answered for me. I don't have anything else to say right here. I think it's actually very offensive to be called Quick D. Definitely not true.
Well, we'll find out. Yeah, Alvarez hitting the rift today, starting on the blue side. It is the Ninjas in Pyjamas. I want us to talk a little bit like in review. We're going to look at the last 8 weeks. Let's pretend we're going into week 1 and the big story was Prophet and how well he was performing.
Yeah, I really want to hype up, you know, the top side of this team where you have Prophet, you have HeaQ, you have Nagne. Those are the guys to look at, see if that potential holy trinity maybe can get some early games rolling for NIP and they can snowball some games. Fast forward to week 8. Never happened, sadly. So I think we're just kind of relying on some crazy individual performances.
Well, I'm going to ask you why it didn't happen in-game. And their opponents today will be Roccat, of course. They're going to be taking over the Rift and trying to pick up some late-season surges. And it'll be Pridestalker, the man we're looking at again, because we're going to go back in time. It was Maxlaw in Spring, the man that started that resurgence. And we were expecting Pridestalker to pick up some of that slack. And he's starting to do it recently.
I mean, yeah, we thought Pridestalker would come in and, you know, make sure Roccat still had a good early game because he could be very active on some of these different carry junglers. We didn't get to see it the first few weeks, but I feel like the last few weeks we have actually seen him step up quite a lot as a jungler. And I think this meta where everyone is playing tanks except for him, he's obviously playing all the different assassins. He's not really getting pressured in the early game and he can do whatever he wants.
Well, look, there's thousands of options here available to Roccat and Ninjas in Pyjamas. And as we load up into picks and bans, it is still the tank meta. Will Pridestalker play a tank in the jungle or will he carry on playing those assassins?
I am willing to bet all my money on Pridestalker not playing a tank jungler. NIP are banning out the Maokai, most likely more against Phaxi than Pridestalker himself. Cho'Gath there. So NIP do not want to play against all these tanks. Maybe they just want to first pick, you know, something like the Caitlyn that's gone. Well, then Elise.
Well, the Cho'Gath on blue side, a little different. Seen on the red side a fair amount. Zac is still up and available, something we've seen a lot, but is it something Pridestalker is willing to play?
I mean, again, most likely not. NIP should just take the Zac for Shook. I think NIP is the kind of team where macro doesn't really exist, so just run pure tank comps where you can try and hard engage all the time. That's where Zac would fit in. He's gone now, though. Roccat with the very standard red side bans. It's gonna be Kalista locked in for HeaQ in the bottom lane, meaning Xayah, Rakan are both available, and Roccat, they really like to play that combo.
Well, Wadid is a monster on those engaged supports. Regardless of how the team is performing, Wadid still shines. He still really shows up and is definitely one of the overachievers on the Roccat squad.
Also, as you can see the graphic there, Kha'Zix is one of the champions on Pridestalker's list. It is available. I actually really want to see him play it, because then you have a lot of comfort already on the side of Roccat. Xayah, Rakan, as we mentioned, is one of the preferred duo lanes for them, and then they can get Kha'Zix as well, which is one of the champions Pridestalker's look really good on. I think that could be very good for Roccat specifically. NIP, though, with the Kalista, they will get some engage. Alistar is already banned away by them, so sadly they can't run the Kalista Alistar combo, but they will be able to at least pick up a Braum, which is fine against the Rakan as well, and they should be happy enough.
Personal pet peeve on this patch, Deficio. Whenever Sejuani and Braum are on the same team, it's so difficult to team fight them. Glacial Fissure, Glacial Prison, no. Yes.
Glacial, a lot of things,
so
a lot
tough.
of ice flying around.
It's really like a difficult tongue twister. So NIP get a good combo, but it makes my life difficult in game.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
I can tell you're very enthusiastic about that story.
I mean, I think the story was great. I really bought into the hype of the story. Syndra locked in for Betsy, one of the few champions that he's feeling very comfortable on as well. And again, I kind of feel like Roccat are getting everything they actually want in this pick and man phase. If Kha'Zix is left open for Pridestalker in the second phase, then I'm going to have to question the choices from NIP and their bans.
All right, let's see. They got 2 bans here in phase 2. And of course, Roccat, they very happy and comfortable to play this early game style. You mentioned the Syndra. Deficio, 10 games for Betsy out of his team's 24. He's going to bang on 50% win-loss ratio on that champion. Long time taking him is Kha'Zix. So not too surprised there, but for Pridestalker, you look down the list. Still played a lot of Lee Sin, Warwick as well, which he got better on as time went on. Definitely not the greatest start to his Warwick performances.
He was also once famous for another jungler.
Which one?
Rengar.
Oh, why do you bring that up, Deficio?
Because it's appeared a few times around the world. We've seen an LCK with the Duskblade Rush. Who knows? Maybe it is a pick Pridestalker wants to pull out in the LCS.
What would need to happen here for Pridestalker to lock it in? The Warwick's gone. I mean, that feels like one of the steps.
Kind of sets it up a little bit more because he's running out of some of these, you know, kind of assassins in that jungle or bruisers in the jungle that he can play. And he is currently hovering it. Let's see if he actually wants to play. If he locks it in, I am expecting it to be the Duskblade build. And he swaps it over to a Gragas instead. Can still go top lane. Phaxi can play top, and they can still last pick jungle.
Yep, definitely the technical correctness of that story. Pridestalker has 1 game on Gragas. This split, it was a loss. We'll see whether or not he decides to lock it in. For Ninjas in Pyjamas, they have to now lock in their solo laners. It looks like it's going to be a safe option here for Nagne.
Yeah, that's Jarvan.
Into the Syndra, right? It makes your life difficult in picks.
And they should just go Jarvan here. In case it is Gragas top lane, Jarvan will do fine against that. So that could be a good pickup here for Profit. And a lot of engage as well. Of course, you got to now hover the Kayn after yesterday. And I said we would talk about Kayn today, even if he got picked or not. I'll slide in a few Kayns here and there.
Let's see whether or not we get to cast any Kayns, because if I recall correctly, Pridestalker was the guy that debuted it.
Yeah, and it was really bad. So sadly, he doesn't get to play this time around. It does look like Roccat will actually put him on that Gragas. They do not want to have the Gragas top lane versus the Jarvan.
And do we get our Phaxi Taxi Gnar?
We might get the Phaxi Taxi Gnar once again. We've seen it quite a few times. Not been the same hype this split, I feel like, compared to last split.
I mean, 24 games, it's been banned 8 times this split in Phaxi. A mixed bag of performances on that Gnar. Also, 3 wins and 3 losses. But we know his potential. It can be huge.
I love the potential. It's always good casts, I think. Talk about potential of players. I think there's a lot of potential on the side of NIP here with the draft. To start a lot of fights, Trevor. A lot of tools to start these fights. We saw Misfits yesterday have a lot of tools as well and not use them.
Yeah,
that's kind of how it is. If you don't actually use what you got, well then what's the point?
Well, we heard Nico the Pico as well in the pre-game video, just giving some discussion and some advice to the teams and the players.
Use your ultis.
Yes, combo. Go for the 1-3-1, go for the picks, use it all.
It's great advice for everyone, also at home. Use your ultis in League of Legends. It tends to help you win games. I at least have not won a game without using my ulti even once.
Really?
Let me see, have I ever played a champion where you don't really use the ulti?
Release?
Yeah,
I mean
kind
like you kind of use it, but you kind of don't.
I used to always miss Sona ultis, so technically I didn't win through the ulti.
I remember your Xayah ultimates back in the day as well.
Always spot on, because you couldn't miss it.
You missed a lot of those.
I never missed a single one.
Well, listen, let's see whether or not the champions and players today will miss their ultimates. It's the Ninjas in Pyjamas taking on Roccat. Now, from a technically correct point of view, Deficio.
Yes.
If Ninjas in Pyjamas win every single game 2-0, they can tie Roccat with their game difference. I assume Roccat goes 0-2. There is a technically correct mathematical world. However...
And then after this game, NIP needs to 2-0 all the other teams.
That's correct.
Did you have more you want to add?
I'm just saying that for NIP, one game locks them into the promotion tournament. It is expected. It is a matter of when and how. But now we need to see, how do they learn? How do they evolve as a team? Because I remember Deficio saying something like, if you haven't learned something in the LCS while being on the stage, that's when you can lose to challenger teams in the promotion tournament.
It's true. I mean, there's a lot of other ways you can also lose if you're just way worse than them, you know, you probably also lose. And judging from NIP's performance so far in the LCS, it is actually hard to say if they are much stronger than the current challenger teams. Funny enough, some of them are in the studio as well.
Yeah, I had a good conversation with Woolite, actually.
Yeah, I met Gilius and everything, so that was fun to see him again. And then they're all getting ready to play, of course, the playoffs of the challenger scene. Games actually is tomorrow. Yeah,
first challenger semi-final tomorrow is Giants taking on Wind and Rain. We'll see how well that plays out. But let's...
A lot of Giants hype.
Let's take a look at number 4 and number 5 here in Group A in the EU LCS. Ninjas in Pyjamas, they have blue side, and no early shenanigans from either squad. What are we expecting from the laning phase, Deficio?
I mean, so mid lane, a matchup we see like a million times already. It's rare, a whole lot happens. They just kind of push each other a little bit and laugh at each other. Bot lane is where I'm actually going to look more, because you have the Rakan Xayah lane for Wadid and Orianna, and they play super aggressive with this lane, like level 1 all-ins. It's not an unusual thing from them. Wadid already playing very aggressive, fast forward with the coin, meaning, of course, what he likes to do is be very active with his Q and try and actually trade like a lot of mana with the enemy support, and then he wins out through the coin sustain when you pick up these little mana coins. And also later on, he will get the talisman, most likely.
A lot of shoving already. The race to level 2 is on, and you know, talking about early games, NIP's early game has actually been relatively good. They get a lot of first bloods. Their laning phase is not terrible. They actually have a better goal difference at 15 than Roccat, but it kind of falls apart when they need to start playing the map and keeping up and communicating together as a team.
And that's always where, whenever kind of the solo queue part of the game disappears, which is, you know, after the laning phase, because you can do a lot of these things in solo queue. Like you can play 2v2 lanes, you can practice against other, you know, high challenger or master tier players. Sadly, in the LCS stage, as soon as you get out of that laning phase, that's where your macro kicks in. That's where your shot calling needs to matter. And that's where NIP have just not been able to really improve a whole lot. So it's always kind of been the same. Because it's not like we look at, you know, HeaQ and sprattel and say, oh, these guys can't 2v2 lane. Of course they can.
Yeah, they can indeed. And HeaQ's been decent this split. A better performance. I want to talk a little bit about Roccat as well, because we've covered some of the NIP story and what's at stake for them. But I mean, Roccat, they took down Unicorns of Love. And while that's now slowly changing the context with UOL struggling a little, it was still a good series win. Roccat as a whole, they've won actually 10 games this split, which you kind of forget when you look at them down in the 4th place.
So often you'd at least get one win in their series, and then sometimes when they play the #1 teams in different groups, they tend to beat them. Like Fnatic, they can take down. Unicorns, they took down as well. I like the opponent tower at 15 minutes, the one all the way to the right in the graphic, 0.7. Now this was over 3 games, actually meaning that before 15 minutes, Unicorns are left, they got like 2 towers, which is nothing in the early game. So Roccat managed to actually keep them down. Let's see if they can do the same. Pridestalker is not on that aggressive jungler he likes to be on. He's forced by grabs on the Gragas. HeaQ is sneaking around towards the bottom lane.
Forced by grabs.
Trust me, it is not Pridestalker's own choice to be like, yes, pick me the tank jungler. HeaQ on his way.
Deficio, 72% of the time, Ninjas in Pyjamas get first blood. And what looks to be an easy first blood here, secured by HeaQ once again. Sprattel's able to escape, and second blood will be taken by Sprattel. NIP do this consistently and often.
And if you are Roccat right there, you know, you could have just watered your river. They believed, they trusted in that deep vision placed at the Raptor camp at the red buff. But HeaQ, he snuck his way around, found his way to the bottom lane, and honestly, such an easy gank setup here for NIP. Great execution. They get 2 kills, and great start for them. Let's see if they can actually manage to maybe keep this advantage and get some more. That's the, oh yeah, we didn't have any wards, and we didn't see him.
If you're too busy to do a face palm, that was the face of face palm without the physicality. But HeaQ as a jungler, definitely very large variance in his best performances to his worst performances.
Yeah.
But there is no doubt he can find first bloods.
I feel like, you know, our intro to this was like, hey, let's pretend it's week 1 again. What is our storyline? With HeaQ, we could have gone back to season 3 or 4 basically, and been like, describe HeaQ as a player. Well, 10-0 or 0-10. It's always one or the other.
Yes.
Always so inconsistent, and you see these brilliant games or moves from him where you're like, wow, okay, HeaQ, that was great, you know. And then the next few games you don't even notice him. But this game here, he pulls off a great first blood. Let's see if Roccat can get any sort of revenge.
All right, in terms of flash economics, Harjan has spent his and is theoretically gankable. Keep our eyes on whether or not Ninjas in Pyjamas can open up that possibility. I mean, HeaQ getting closer to his ulti as well, so they'll open up a tower dive. We focus heavily on this bottom lane because, of course, that was where first blood came from.
I got one little thing also to add on the bottom lane, just with the Rakan. Something we're seeing more and more is the wind speakers as a keystone on him, where what you want to do is you want to go Ardent Sensor as one of your first items, because of course with your shielding and your heal, you can actually use that very effectively. And then you also get the Talisman, is what we see in Europe quite often from the Rakan players. Over in the LCK, you can just see the Righteous Glory instead come in, because it gives a bit more tanky stats. But Talisman, most likely for Wadid, and then with the Ardent Sensor, you're actually able to have a lot of utility and actually able to buff up your carries as well quite effectively. So you're not just an engaged machine.
Right.
You add a little bit more to your team.
Add that utility, and Pridestalker's adding some utility with vision in that bottom quadrant, allowing Roccat to play more aggressively. Pridestalker throws the barrel out. Nagne gets pinned against the wall, and Betsy uses stand behind me. No, correction, as Pridestalker gets caught by the shockwave. That's going to be an easy kill here for NIP, donated by Pridestalker.
Yeah, actually such a good start from NIP. They just predicted that gank. Sprattel was already nearby. Prophet's TP came in instantly, no flash used, you know, early from Nagne. Couldn't even have done it if he actually had it, because it was down from before. But nice little bait here. Pridestalker is going for quite an optimistic gank without knowing what was going on the top side, and he ends up dying for it. So it's actually almost 2,000 gold now for NIP.
Big advantage grown across the map. A kill for HeaQ, Nagne, and Sprattel. Prophet and HeaQ still waiting to get on the board. I'm glad we're looking a little bit at this mid lane. It's not the most exciting laning phase, but now we can keep an eye on how well Betsy can roam, if at all. Is Nagne catching that wave? He's also gone for an early Merc Treads. Try to fend off some of that laning prowess of Betsy.
Yeah, I do see the tier 2 boots rush a few times on Orianna. Normally it is the magic penetration you're going for more aggressive trades, but he wants to be safe. He knows there's a Gragas as well who can gank him. Wants the tenacity issue highlighted. Steal away the red buff.
Oh, that is so cheeky.
All right, finally Roccat actually gets something out of these wards they've been placing in the jungle here, because they've done it twice now. They ward up every camp in the jungle. They can see HeaQ. But they also then actually didn't see HeaQ on the first gank, died. Then also Pridestalker here didn't know what was happening on the other side of the map, also died with his gank. Luckily though, Betsy gets a red buff, so I guess all worth it in the end.
And let's see whether or not HeaQ and Sprattel can get even more worth to Deficio, because they've swapped. Looking at the mini-map, or is this a gank? I mean, look, respect to Phaxi, he's already backed away.
Yeah,
reading the map a little bit.
So this swap doesn't really give them like a big tempo advantage or anything, because bot lane Rockat's duo is already at that turret. So there's now just 2 teams rushing down the tower. Luckily for NIP though, they have 4 members.
First tower, 33% of the time goes to Roccat.
NIP will get it.
45% of the time goes to NIP, and that will grow. NIP, they got first blood, second blood, third blood, also first tower.
Good guy Shook moving all the way up to help rush down the tower. Phaxi, of course, was not even close, helping his team coming back from base right there. So NIP, get the first tower, get the first blood, first few kills, a lot of good things in favor of these guys. And remember, this meta, when you run so much engage and it's no longer about setting up fancy split push comms or anything like that, and it's sometimes literally just about forcing a Baron play and you can just hard engage on the enemy team, it is easier to then snowball the games and actually close them out if you win the early game. So NIP, they rushed the Baron against G2 Esports. They took it away from them. It was a beautiful play. Let's see the same thing here, because they got Kalista once again. And if Roccat react in time, turn around and fight.
Well, look at all the tools that NIP have to work with. We mentioned it in Picks and Bans, Deficio. Use those ultis. Cataclysm, Glacial Prison, Glacial Fissure, Shockwaves with a gold lead with a map control at 10 minutes. That's how NIP can push this advantage. I'm looking, where are the opportunities? Shook coming over the wall for Betsy. Betsy's got Cleanse and Flash. Earlier I misspoke and called Scatter the Weak. Stand behind me. Insta-cleanse from Betsy, and well, he literally floats away to safety.
I'll give you one more of those mistakes, Trevor. Otherwise, we call Pyro in here.
Okay, I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Especially because that was the thing that, like, I used to be really good at. But
yeah, but you kind of, you know, dropped the ball a few times.
It's age, dude. I'm 30 in 2 weeks.
I know.
Like, I can't remember that stuff anymore.
Some people blame age, others egos, you know. It's whatever you want to call it. Let's see what happens here.
All right, the quickness is thrown up by Wadid. He's trying to buy time for Phaxi to arrive in the teleport, and looks like he may have done it. Shook gets caught out, stunned up, knocked up, and lashes over the wall. That Arctic Assault Deficio gets him to safety, but Roccat do not give up anything more.
Meanwhile, bottom lane Prophet still sitting with TP. Phaxi used his, so that was a TP used and a flash from him, getting nothing at all. He has to go back towards that bottom side, otherwise Prophet will just take a free tower. Meanwhile, once Phaxi leaves, Rocket's topside actually got to be careful, because there's a few wards being placed behind them that a certain Prophet maybe could use to TP on. Phaxi got interrupted, will lose all the minions. They might try and get this tower here. Oh, sorry, Rift Herald, same thing. Let's see actually if NIP wants to fight, because again, they have wards behind the Rift Herald.
All right, so Rift Herald is under threat here from the Pyjamas. Teleport comes out, and Roccat, they're able to secure the Herald. The buff picked up as well. Shockwave catches 3, but Shook is the target. Roccat get their first kill of the fight. Turn their attention to Prophet as the Cataclysm comes down. Betsy flashes to safety, and Phaxi throws a boulder toss. The body slam flash from Pridestalker catches Prophet out, and the flag and drag to safety. Scatter the Weak sends Prophet to the fountain.
Oh, he actually TP'd in behind that Rift Herald. Did not want to jump over the wall. He wanted to have his combo for the fight, so it took a while before Prophet even joined. Shook already died instantly. And then it was technically a 4v5, but Prophet did turn around shortly. In the end, though, Roccat managed to actually pick up a few more kills, especially on Betsy here. That's important. So look here. TP coming in. Prophet wants to shove first. And at this point here, because he's not using his combo over the wall, he has to run all the way around. Could have flashed over the wall as well. So Shook is dead before Prophet joins. He then comes in, makes it a 1-for-1. Sadly, right now, they can't really get anything else on the side of NIP. They're kind of forced out of the fight. And while Prophet almost makes the fantastic escape, Betsy wants some more kills.
Yeah, Betsy secures a Pridestalker with a good body slam flash. And, you know, if we were back in week 1 and looking, it's Pridestalker's performance that we were going to look at, and his impact on Roccat. Weeks 1 through 6, developing, growing, learning. Week 7, pretty freaking good.
Yes, exactly. And as we talked about, you know, he could get to play like Kha'Zix and so on against these tank junglers who couldn't do anything against him in the early game. And he actually was super active with ganking and skirmishing, and he found a lot of success with it. Gragas is not going to be the same deal here, but that was a good team fight from him. We just saw it before here, which of course is important to highlight. If he's showing growth on tank junglers as well, that could be good for Roccat here in this new meta. Pridestalker for now though, we'll just take that red buff. Phaxi not even getting to smell it.
Yeah, not this time round. Just taking a look at where the rest of this NIP support is, because Sprattel and Shook, they were hanging about in the bushes, waiting in the river, coming around the banana bush, now in behind mid tower, and quite literally brute force their way onto this mid-outer turret. Roccat kind of caught napping a little bit or out of position. Why did this look so easy?
Well, because what happened before this was Prophet pushed in the top side, where you see Phaxi went up now after he walked by that red buff. So what Prophet just did was like, okay, I pushed my lane. He walked to mid lane. Suddenly now there's more members from NIP around that tower, where Phaxi is trying to catch up farm, because he's actually pretty far behind already. So he wasn't there to defend him. This is just a little move. You know, if you push your side lane first, the way you want to really use that advantage is not to walk down and start, you know, trying to hit his tier 2 tower this early in the game. It's about, you know, moving towards your team in the mid lane, in the jungle.
Hey, teamwork OP, man.
It is, and I see so many top laners still want to go for that top lane tier 2 tower in the early game. You're not going to kill it, mate. Help your team instead. Make it a 4v5 in the mid lane. Rift Elf spawned in mid lane as well. Phaxi's now down it. Now it's Prophet's turn to defend top side, and that's a numbers advantage for Roccat.
Look at Pridestalker coming out from the side. I thought there was a potential of him coming over the wall. Roccat able to pick up their second tower of the game. It's only a 1,000 gold difference at 15 minutes in favor of NIP.
So what we saw right here with their top laners, just focusing on them here in this example, is what the pro teams call like windows. When you push your lane first, you get a window to roam and go make a play. First it was Prophet who pushed in. Phaxi had to go defend. There was a window for Prophet to move to mid. Took a tower. Now Phaxi pushed it out. Prophet had to defend. It was Phaxi's window to go mid.
Deficio. How many dragons have Roccat secured this splits? Can I tell you? 26. Do you know how many of them are Cloud Drakes?
I'm gonna say 17.
One! They just got their first Cloud Drake all split long. Boom! Quick stats.
That was pretty good. Kind of useless, but pretty good.
I got one more. When you get to Barons, I got another juicy Baron one for you.
Give us a small little tease.
Little tease, you know. A little bit of excitement. But yeah, seriously, that's the 27th dragon that Roccat have picked up.
So what does it mean, Trevor?
RNG not in their favor.
Not in their favor?
No, it's not.
Or in their favor?
No, not in their favor.
But why not?
Why not? Because when I look at the rest of their stats, they've got 8 ocean dragons. They've got 11... you're right, you see.
Yeah, that's pretty good, right?
It's pretty good because they got all the good ones.
They got all the good drakes.
I just got served.
Yeah, you did. And you didn't even realize.
And I'll explain it to everybody else who didn't realize either. RNG is in Rockat's favor because they got all the juicy dragons, not the boring cloud dragons that Deficio hates. Thank you, Deficio. Thank you. This is why you're the brains and I'm the excitement.
Also, because you got the good looks and I do not. There you go, guys. On your screen, you see the potential coach of the split. It is Freddy122. He subbed in last week for Grabs, won the series for Roccat, and you can't really deny the stats. It says 100% win rate.
I had no idea that was coming. Oh, thank you, production team.
So I just want to pose the question to everyone. Is he, in fact, coach of the split?
Well, if Roccat do not win this series, he has to be, because I saw Grabs on stage. Let's see whether or not...
Can you sub in your coach between games?
You can indeed. Ninjas in Pyjamas. Gonna hope that Roccat don't do that, because they've taken their 4th tower, Deficio, and they're playing the map game. So now we start to judge their macro.
I mean, I like the vision control from them. I like the fact they're going for that free tower in the bottom side. And we're just getting close to that time where the Baron spawns and you can start using that as your baiting tool. Like, NIP so far are actually playing really well, and we're kind of waiting for Roccat to react, but one of their ways to win the game was like, you know, Phaxi would take over the side lane in the late game and be a split pushing threat. We see that Gnar Jarvan all the time. Gnar pushes the Jarvan down, but Phaxi's still behind. He's pretty far away from being that big threat in a side lane, and that really slows down everything for Roccat at the moment. Kind of relying on maybe then Wadid to actually start a big fight. And look, we actually talked about one of the item choices for Wadid. He could have gone for. Talk about it after, because Sprattel's dead.
Oh, so easily comboed. Betsy gets the kill.
That was the other one you can go for with Wadid. But as I was actually talking about earlier, while we do see Talisman a lot, he is going for the choice where you actually rush for Righteous Glory instead, and you become more tanky as a support. So he's not going for the early Ardent Sensor I expected.
Wow, such a good play from Roccat. They didn't even use any summoner spells there. All right, let's see if Phaxi can escape this one. No flash available to him. Going to be able to Gnar out very, very soon. Stunned up. Not even possible. Easily run down by Sejuani and Jarvan.
Yeah, that was almost too easy for NIP in the bottom lane. Phaxi going down. See the play before from Wadid here. So it's tough. You're a support, you want a clear vision. And you have no vision of the enemy team. You just die. Hard to do a whole lot there if you are sprattel. Once you're stuck in the jungle. Shook. Nice gank actually down the bottom lane against Phaxi, who's just caught in the side lane. And as you guys can see, these replays are hard to say a whole lot about them specifically, because it was just kind of people walking and killing one guy.
It's difficult for Phaxi, but as you mentioned, Deficio, he's got to play for farm. He's got to try scale up until he can start bullying Jarvan.
He wants his 2 items so fast, but again, he's not going to get them before Baron is alive, before NIP can actually start baiting around it. There was a 22-minute Baron rush against G2 Esports. They were not afraid of just rushing straight at it. Can do the same here, because you have multiple tanks who can actually sit in front of the Baron. Another fight, though.
All right, Wadid's running around. He's already flashed in. HeaQ down. Where's the damage for NIP? Nagne's on the side as the Shockwave catches a few members of Roccat, but the Gnar against the wall means Nagne's locked up, knocked down, and Roccat find 3.
And we did talk about, you know, NIP actually doing pretty well around the map a few minutes ago, but then right here, they gave Roccat such a massive opening. Prophet was still sitting in the mid lane, couldn't really TP from that, you know, position. Nagne wasn't even there, and then 3 guys just walk into the jungle. Kind of on their own, and they get caught out by Roccat so easily, and suddenly Roccat, they win a fight. They're gonna take the Baron that NIP was supposed to bait around.
Supposed to bait around, but Deficio look at a Baron stats, and I'll get to it after the replay.
Like, look at the replay right here, with NIP having 3 guys in jungle. Nagne is pretty far away, he's running in now. Then Prophet is the same. You can't really TP from that, you know, position, because you're just gonna run faster to join the fight, but it just means that NIP do not have enough members around. And it was very, very easy for Roccat here to just force and engage onto them. Betsy, 5 kills now on this Syndra. He's so insanely fed.
You know, coming into this game today, Deficio, both teams across their games have had 34 Barons killed, okay? But the ratio is very different, because of the 34 Barons killed in Rockat's games, 16 of them they were able to pick up, and 18 of them picked up by their opponents.
Okay.
NIP were only able to pick up 7 and gave up 27. Now, the reason I think that's relevant and important, in a game where NIP had a lead, we're setting up vision, they played them properly around the map, got killed, and Roccat got the Baron.
Yeah, and that is a large reason for, a large part of why NIP currently are sitting without a single series win. 0-10 so far in the EU LCS. One, of course, a game or here, a game or 2, but they're still looking for that first series win. If they're not getting against Roccat in their own group, they're not going to get it against anyone. I think it's safe to say, because they are playing, you know, against teams like Fnatic soon, and that's probably not going to be a lot easier.
Interestingly, both Roccat and NIP have taken games off the Unicorns of Love. Roccat went a step further and won the whole series as well. But yeah, of the 2 game wins that the Ninjas and Pyjamas have, one of them was against Vitality, who was 4th place in Group B.
Yep.
And one of them was against Unicorns of Love. And then very interestingly, Roccat actually dropped a series to Mysterious Monkeys and beat Vitality. So that was fun to watch as well.
Yeah, it's been a lot of up and downs in that, you know, cross-group week between these teams. Funny enough, though, NIP, when they beat Unicorns, it was the week before Rift Rivals. It was where all the warning signs were there. They were in the air. And then Unicorns of Love, obviously, of course, went to Rift Rivals, but actually did the best out of the European teams. Let's see. Prophet wants to fight. Sadly for him, he's missing that Baron to bait around. So right now, Roccat can actually play all 3 lanes. And Phaxi, despite being really far down in farm and, you know, kind of having to rely on his team, he's now able to actually split push.
Well, like you said, down in farm, 60 CS. There's no cleanse available for Betsy. He flashes away, the Cataclysm used as well. Literally everything in the kitchen sink just to kill Betsy.
Phaxi's here.
Phaxi's coming over the wall, gets the Gnar and shuts down Sprattel. Pridestalker and Harjan looking to engage on the fight. Blastcone used to buy some time, and Prophet, he's already used the Cataclysm. Harjan's coming in to put some damage from the flanks. That was the first death for Betsy all game. 5-1-2.
Big shutdown here for NIP, sadly for them. Roccat are still pushing for another tower. No minions though in the mid lane. No minions actually in any of the lanes in a good position for them. So it looks like NIP can defend for now. 3k gold down on their side. Not unwinnable yet.
Yeah.
But definitely a lot harder than before.
Especially with the team comp, right? Sejuani, Orianna, Braum, Kalista, all going to do fairly well over the next 10 minutes if they don't get further behind, because Frozen Malice just been picked up by Phaxi. He's got his second item, Deficio, which we've been looking for. Knight's Vows have been in the jungler's itemization for a little while. Nagne, a little bit of an, struggling build, which we'll talk about in a moment or two. And there's that glacial prison that locked him down.
No cleanse for Betsy, no way out. Nice engage here from HeaQ and Sprattel together, actually setting up that shutdown, but then Phaxi already moving in from his side lane. Easy for him to kind of return the favor, and it's always one of the problems when you are behind on the map. You're not really going to get that big favorable fight.
Nope.
But getting a shutdown and actually stopping the push technically is a win for NIP. Live to fight another day.
Let's see if anybody else does. Roccat now under a little bit of pressure as NIP have grouped up. And if you step back and look at these last 25 minutes, it's felt like NIP had good individual plays during the laning phase, but Roccat have just played better as a team. We'll expand on that thoughts in a moment. Tower is about to fall down and has done so, and Phaxi's teleport is cancelled. Fate's Call initiation onto Jarvan. The Rend comes down, so does the Cataclysm. Ninjas in Pyjamas, they're fighting back. That's a great start and a double kill for Profit. Ninjas in Pyjamas, they win the fight.
Yeah, this game just keeps swinging back and forth right now. Phaxi TPing on a tower. If you just kill the tower, of course he can't follow through then, and suddenly Roccat find himself sitting with only 4 members. Also, Jarvan was so far forward in this fight here. Maybe just expecting the Mega Gnar to appear. Meaning now NIP will get a tower, can actually get inhib. Phaxi's trying to trade for inhib in the bottom lane.
All right, Betsy's got access to his ultimate.
Top lane.
No target available to him. Okay, ends up tagging up Sprattel. Inhibitor falls. This should be in trade for the bottom. Shockwave comes out. The Pyjamas turn it around. The gameplay button as Betsy takes out Nagne. And they do end up trading. So it's 1 kill for 1 and 1 inhib for 1.
And this is one of the good HeaQ games right now. 100% kill participation on the Sejuani. Starting multiple fights for NIP right now. Profit is still alive, but they're actually running away. Oh, Pridestalker wants a piece of Profit.
The engage comes in from the entrance. Wadid looking for another target.
Phaxi still
by
pushing.
the way, is still on a Nexus turret. There's a base race situation on the cards. The rest of Roccat are trying to chase down. Nexus turret number 1 is popped. Mega Gnar's available to Phaxi. No flash just yet. Boulder Toss comes out. That's going to slow down the rest. A crunch gets the kill, and all of a sudden, Roccat take control of the game.
All right. But you say control, it's still very open. Roccat did, in the end, get that Nexus turret. Let's see if it actually will matter.
And, all it needed was that second item, Deficio.
That was the second item, yes.
Phaxi got Frozen Mallet. The game just widened up. That's
exactly.
it.
100%. That's
game
exactly
changing.
what happened right there. That fight in the mid lane didn't happen at all. It was just a Frozen Mallet for Phaxi. Let's see, actually, if we get a replay from that last fight, it was a pretty cool setup from NIP. Wadid and Jarvan, though, not found the success we were kind of hoping for with their Xayah Rakan combo. They always like to play. A few good engages from Wadid here and there, but Jarvan is still to really show his skills in a fight.
Yeah, definitely about Betsy. Kill secured. Most of them this game. Definitely been played around.
Half.
They've played around him, right? Pridestalker spent a lot of early game ganking for that lane for better and worse. And as the fights have broken out, Betsy leading the charge. Roccat maintain a 2,000 gold lead. And the map is now open. If Roccat can get this next Cloud Drake, they will double their Cloud Drakes on the split.
Yes, and that's obviously the important story for Roccat here. Who cares about playoffs if you can get more Cloud Drakes?
I will find out how much Roccat care as they continue to play this on. The thing is, this is now weird because at 30 minutes and with exposed bases, both teams can easily win this game with a strong team fight.
Yes, exactly. Which is also
like
kind of
50-50.
That's kind of the crazy thing about a game like this one, because one team hasn't really dominated the other team. It's been just super back and forth. Early game favor for NIP, then mid game for Roccat. Baron is started. Phaxi with TP, Profit with TP in the bottom lane. Now you gotta really respect the team fighting, engage and comp here from NIP. If you're stuck in that Baron pit when Sejuani ultis in, it's hard to get out.
And of course, the Phaxi Narbar needs to get charged up if he wants to have those super effective TPs. Starting to back away, waddling across a lot of wards from NIP. In terms of minions, mid lane pushing into Rockat's bases, there's supers in NIPs.
You see that last Nexus turret trying to defend on its own. I'm gonna make a bold prediction here. This game might end in a Phaxi backdoor. With this Nexus turret dying to minions at some point, Phaxi's gonna find his way.
All right, let's see if Phaxi's way will win the game. It's still a lead. It's still very close. The Nexus turret down to 20% HP, and Phaxi's in Mega Gnar form. Ninjas in Pyjamas backing away. They cannot fight without Prophet leaving, and that means now the supers are being pushed back.
For now, at least, buying a bit of time for NIP. We see Roccat still with control of the Baron. They're starting it once again. They have the composition to just turn around and fight with Gragas and Rakan. Let's see here. All 5 members on it. Prophet is here as well with NIP. It's going to be a big team fight.
All right, Glacial Prison available to Shook. When does he fire the bowler? That's what I'm looking for. Baron starts to regen as Roccat take a bunch of damage. But look at the minimap. Still
They're looking for the top lane because they know that Nexus turret is so low. They just want to see if they can stop NIP from defending. Let that tower die to the super minions. Prophet is on his way back, but that tower is still very low. It might just die before Prophet even shows up.
Gonna go back to the Baron stat from earlier. As it stands, NIP not had good success around this objective. The Nexus turret has been killed. Baron is peeled away from once again. Prophet completes the TP, means he can't get into the base.
So mid lane right now, a lot of minions pushing in for NIP, but no one is there to actually take the minions and use them. There's the Phaxi backdoor!
Phaxi is teleporting into the Nexus! He's starting to throw the boomerangs! Where are Ninjas in Pyjamas? The recalls, they're interrupted! Wadid is down! Shockwave stalls the rest of Roccat! Now Phaxi in a 1v1. He's gonna get tired in a second. Flashes out of the Cataclysm. Minions pouring through. This will help out shortly. Phaxi's got no flash available. He's being walloped on by Prophet, taking a lot of damage.
The minions!
They're coming to help. The minions are on the Nexus, but Roccat have not done it.
They're not gonna do it yet. They're so close.
It's not gonna happen. There's no minions today.
My prediction was so close. The inhib just respawned as well. Oh my god, they were like 1 or 2 hits from Phaxi away from actually killing that Nexus with the back door. Now Phaxi's dead for 25 seconds. Baron is still alive, and with the inhib back alive here, no one is gonna rush the Nexus now. Oh, true. If that had been true, man.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
If he just had another damage item instead of that stone plate.
You know what? A better analyst would have predicted the inhibitor respawning because he would have tracked it.
No, but it did nothing. He would have killed it if he just had more damage.
Let's take a look at this Baron now. Ninjas in Pyjamas, they're inside the pit. Roccat starting to group up. Phaxi's got no teleports available. The quickness thrown around. It's a melee on the river. Betsy takes down Prophet. Baron secured by HeaQ. It's starting to get messy. Pridestalker flashes out of the pit. Phaxi looks for an engage. Hops over the wall. Betsy and Wadid coming in from the flanks. Shut down as Betsy gets another. Wadid gets a knock up onto HeaQ, and Pridestalker sends him packing.
How did Roccat win that fight? It was 4v5. Phaxi wasn't even there. He just walked all the way from base. Roccat right now, they're looking at that last inhib for the Nexus as well. Mid lane first though, despite no minions yet. They're on the way, but just take that free inhib in the top lane.
Let's find out whether or not Roccat can get in.
Does this count as a backdoor?
I've just been buzzed by the production team Deficio. The Nexus was down to 89 hit points. 89 hit points. If Phaxi had a stronger laning phase, had half an item more.
That's true.
If he hadn't fallen behind, the game would have been over.
A few more levels, maybe a 3rd damage item. For sure he would have finished it then.
I mean, the math might be off, but even just one more level with all of those autos could have added to 89.
So let's see here. Okay, Nagne is actually not there from the get-go, but it's still 4v5 in favor of NIP, but they're so busy either dealing with the Baron or trying to actually deal with Pridestalker and then Wadid after, that despite it being 5 members of NIP, they actually never got to fight together. And they spent so much time finishing the Baron, they couldn't actually win the team fight, and Roccat managed to then take quite a few members down. Now they didn't get the inhib. Everyone respawned. We're still fairly early in the game. Like this is like 31 minutes basically.
Oh, I love it. 24 kills, 33 minutes. Betsy is pretty powerful on his Syndra, 9, 2, and 3. Harjan and Wadid yet to join the fight as far as kills are concerned, but they've got 9 assists and 11 assists, so I'm being a little overly harsh.
I mean, it's all about kills in League of Legends. We all know that.
It is. I mean, that's literally why KS exists.
True.
And as it stands, Ninjas in Pyjamas, they are sieging into the base. Inhibitor is the target. That's a flash engage from Prophet. That great shockwave. It's a shutdown onto Betsy. The Glacial Prison goes wide, and Wadid's quickness is buying some time. Phaxi's going to gnar out, and he needs to have a huge defense. It's 3v5 and 1 Nexus turret remaining.
Yeah, they got minions right here with the Baron buff. They're actually looking for that last Nexus turret. Yanan, he needs to shine now to stop this one.
Ninjas in Pyjamas on the verge of picking up their 3rd game win. The Phaxi misses everything. Roccat are on the retreat. The Nexus turret starts to go down. Teleport from Prophet just to keep the minion alive. The Nexus is the target. There's enough support here for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They've killed Wadid. They're looking for Jarvan. Phaxi's left alive. The Nexus is a focus. And NIP win their 3rd game of summer.
Oh man, what a game! So entertaining actually between these teams. Early game, NIP looked good. They made some great plays, good setups. Mid-game, Trevor, it fell apart a little bit. They lost the Baron, and it looked like, you know, the Phaxi will actually finish the game. 89 HP, you said?
89 hit points.
On that Nexus. But it doesn't matter because now NIP said, you know what? We're just gonna walk straight and do it the correct way. Front door, no back door here for NIP.
No back door necessary. Ninjas in Pyjamas win only their 3rd game of the split. Now can they take their first series? About 30 or 40 minutes ago, Deficio, I said that if NIP had a perfect run, it all starts, every journey starts with the first step, and they've just taken it.
There you go, Trevor. You did your job as a caster. You set up the potential storyline of NIP going 10-0 the next few weeks in their group. Only playing teams like G2 and Fnatic and Misfits, you know, but... I mean, it starts here. You're all right. They just won this game.
There we go.
And if we ignore the mid-game, it was actually a great game from NIP's side.
The ending was strong. The laning phase and the early game decision-making again. I mean, HeaQ just finds a way to get those first bloods.
Yep, every time.
Really, really impressive in that regard. But then you also have to criticize some of those mid-game calls and whether or not it's going to...
It was fun, though. It was a lot of fun.
It really, really was. You almost got that backdoor prediction. Oh. Fortunately, because you were wrong, Deficio. Ninjas Pyjamas, they kicked off that series with a win. And it started with that early gank in the bot lane, didn't it, Drakos?
Thank you, Quickshot. That was very much the case, and luckily that is exactly what Stress had his eye on. We're going to take a look at the replay of that early play of exactly what transpired there, because not only is it good from NIP, but things look a little grim on the other side.
This is not the... this is where jumping way forward, because you want to talk about some of the differences. We'll get to
We're
that
watching that moment.
Bit.
Spoiler, some bonus content coming later.
Okay.
But now, early game.
Okay, Pridestalker places a ward at 348, and I want to praise HeaQ for a great gank, but what is this, Roccat? HeaQ literally walks over that ward and does not show himself to Pridestalker, and Jarvan and Wadid received a warning ping and still pushed forward in this lane. Like, great presence from HeaQ to be able to get down into that bottom lane, but my god, you have to at least react to that Sejuani passing right over your ward.
It's one of those situations where you're playing rank 5s with your friends, you're like, dude, I need you to ward more. And then you go to the post-game screen, you're like, I can see that I put down 30 wards this game, but if you're not going to look at the mini-map, why did I put the wards down? I could have been spending that money on damage, which could have won them the game at the very end, right? So, like, you have to realize that looking at your mini-map is important, and I am very shocked by the bottom lane of Roccat for not recognizing the jungle.
Yeah, so sort of a surprising mistake on a little bit of the fundamentals there. Luckily for Roccat, it wasn't all bad after that in the early game. They were able to find some small victories, and Deficio mentioned it being a little sloppier for NIP in the mid game, but what I saw was just a very, very close game. Pretty much up until at the start, very NIP favored, at the end, very NIP favored, but that was very, very back and forth.
Some key fights switching this game back and forth from either team's perspective, and I like that you mentioned about Roccat coming back into it. That's what Deficio was talking about with the mid game, where this Gnar actually started to take over. When we look at that fight that led to the Baron initially for Roccat, the Gnar ultimate that comes through at the end of this, plus Rockat's ability to teamfight early on, is difficult for NIP to actually commit to, because look, they're now collapsed upon from multiple angles. Betsy did a great job on this Syndra, as we've seen quite a few times now this split. And then Phaxi jumps in, is able to just get Nagne, lock him down. The rest of Roccat follow up because they got the numbers.
And as good as this fight is, Vedius, I know you had some strong opinions, like as to the nature of the fight, like why it started, where it happened.
Yeah, so we already talked about the vision from Roccat and their inability to recognize people on the minimap, but also in this situation, if you want to play for vision, you have to be aware that the only time in which you can do it is if the other person is willing to sacrifice something to try and contest it, right? So in that situation, we saw in the bottom lane, the Gnar was clearing out the minion wave. Top was not pushing, mid was not pushing. So Roccat were just saying, NIP was saying, we feel stronger, we can set up vision for the Baron. Unfortunately for them, they weren't that much stronger. They were not in a position to fight. And Roccat got the perfect fight because they didn't lose anything going for that fight. The worst thing that could happen for them was they go even in a fight, but when they're already behind, that's the best case scenario for them. So if you want to try and make plays for vision, just make sure that you're setting up the rest of the map so that it's safe to do so.
At the end of the day, I think we have to praise NIP for pulling out the win here, but very close, I think it's safe to say. Now we're going to get the replay. We previewed it earlier. I'm going to run you through this one because this is my favorite play probably that we've seen all week. This is the Swift swap, gentlemen. That is the official technical term. They think they're about to get backdoored. They're running down. Oh, surprise! They went back to the Baron, not there. And at the end of the day, this is the play that so very nearly won Roccat the game.
The most important thing here is the fact that Prophet did TP into the fight, and Phaxi was like, haha, I can TP into your base, and then he tries to go for the back door.
Unfortunately, coming up just over 80 hit points short. But look, the fact that NIP actually get a decent fight from the rest of this around the Baron, this is the craziness that ensued at the end of the game. And NIP luckily able to stabilize after getting Phaxi down. I think it's, yeah, Nagne arrives and is able to output enough damage to take Phaxi out. And from here, NIP, on the minimap, you see that's where they take the first Nexus Tower because their own super minions are doing exactly the same thing the other side of the map.
I'm going to throw just a little bit of shade here over at my man Prophet because he definitely activated Gargoyle Stoneplate while he was hitting the Gnar on his Nexus, reducing his own damage output. And it was probably, I mean, it's probably the difference of 80 to 150 HP, but if every one of the tanks activates their Gargoyle Stoneplate while you're trying to save the day, other than Cho'Gath, that's pretty much a game-ending moment.
I can kill you and stop you getting the Nexus, even with the Gargoyle Stoneplate.
I only need 40% damage output. That's some confidence right there.
Hey, when you played on SKT, can't argue with that, right? Hit the Gargoyle Stoneplate, go in. That's what that lineage is all about for Prophet.
All right, well, that's one way to take it. Now, looking towards the next game, what we saw from NIP, do you feel like it's enough for them to close this series?
I think that the drafts that they're picking up right now are really solid. You have a really strong mid lane in Orianna. They have good scaling teamfights later on. The fact that we're still seeing HeaQ be super proactive in the early game is great to see. And I think that overall, NIP are looking better than they have done in weeks. We talked about how we haven't seen any growth from them. This seems like a step in the right direction, but also just taking advantage of the meta right now. Like, it is an easier meta to play. Things are easier to execute. And I think that they're doing a great job of just trying to snowball the strongest thing that they can right now.
I completely agree. Great drafts. Keep going with his team fighting style. And I think if you can get Prophet on something like a Jarvan where he's going aggressively into fights, you saw a beautiful combination during the last fight to win the game. I think NIP actually could win this series, even a 2-0 if they draft the same kind of composition.
All right, well, Ninjas in Pyjamas, they haven't won a single series this split, but is tonight the night they surprise everybody and take down Roccat? Game 2 is coming up in just a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere.
How many viewers do you guys think it is right now? 1K. 5,000. Huh? 5,000. Yeah, not the best match.
And what looks to be an easy first blood here, secured by HeaQ once again. Sprattel's able to escape, and second blood will be taken by sprattel. Catches a few members of Roccat, but the Gnar against the wall means Nagne's locked up, knocked down.
Go, Vedius! Go, Creeps! Go, Chris! Go, Chris! Oh, it's one hit, man.
Today, Betsy and Wadid coming in from the flanks, shut down as Betsy gets another. Wadid gets a knock up onto HeaQ, and Pridestalker sends him packing. Inhibitor is the target. That's a flash engage from Prophet. A great shockwave. It's a shutdown onto Betsy. The Glacial Prison goes wide, and Wadid's quickness is buying some time. The Nexus is a focus, and NIP win their third game of summer.